billion cows in the world, you created them. They don't want to be killed, but you kill them to eat. In the process, you kill not just them, you kill the planet. Their wind, their manure are warming the earth 23 times faster than carbon dioxide. Now, what can we do? The cost of reducing carbon dioxide are much larger because it needs technology. The cost of reducing methane is zero. Simply stop eating meat. You cannot stop global warming by simply switching off the lights after you leave the room, which is what children are being told. It has no impact at all. It will take decades to turn around technologies to bring in zero emission fuel sources, even if they were available, and even if you were willing to do them today. But you can remove methane in one day, starting with today's dinner. So not only will you save the world yourself, stopping eating will also stop so much poverty on the planet. It brings you better health, it eliminates most cancers, it frees up masses of land for vegetables and grains and really good eating. It allows water for the poor. For instance, do you know that one slaughterhouse in my city uses 16 million liters a day and one family gets 1 liter? They're actually putting police people in Kenya to guard the taps so that nobody can take more than 1 mug, while the slaughterhouse in Kenya takes all the water. Take the power into your own hands. You can become an earth saver. You don't need machines, you don't need governments, you don't even need treaties like the Copenhagen Treaty, in which so much carbon dioxide and methane is going to be generated by bureaucrats and politicians. You can stop it today by yourself. If you stop eating meat now, you can bring down air pollution and global warming by reducing methane. Maybe this is the ultimate lesson that nature is trying to teach us. Wickedness brings sorrow. Good gets good. Don't kill and don't be killed. Thank you.
My name is Jens Holm. I was a member of the European Parliament between 2006 and 2009. I think also we can change the climate by stop eating meat. The meat production is actually responsible for more than all the emissions together from the world's entire transport sector. That means that meat production emits more gases than the cars, than the trucks, than the airplanes and the boats together. So by stopping eating meat, you can save the planet and you can save the climate.
Thank you. Good afternoon. According to the Director General of the World Health Organization, the 3 greatest threats facing humanity, number 1 is the global food crisis. Climate change is number 2, and pandemic influenza is number 3, all of which have to do with our food choices. The current pandemic has killed thousands of people, but in a world in which millions continue to die of diseases like AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, why is there so much concern about this so-called swine flu? Because apparently the last time a nearly entirely new flu virus jumped species and caused a pandemic, it went on to become the deadliest plague in human history. The influenza pandemic of 1918, most flu strains tend to spare young, healthy adults. The 1918 virus killed people in the prime of life. In 1918, more than a quarter of all Americans fell ill. This is a chart of percent of population dying here in the States. In 1918, as many as 50 to 100 million people lost their lives. A similar virus today could kill many, many more. What started for millions around the globe as muscle aches and a fever ended days or even hours later. Homeless orphans, their parents gone, wandered the empty streets. One agonized official in the stricken East sent an urgent warning West, quote, "Hunt up your woodworkers and set them to making coffins, then take your street laborers and set them to digging graves." This is a clipping from the New York Times at the time. Victims of plague everywhere, great pyres of bodies consumed by the flames. That 1918 flu virus killed more people in 25 weeks than AIDS has killed in 25 years. No war, no plague, no famine has ever killed so many people in so short of time as the 1918 pandemic. Where did it come from? The conventional wisdom is that the 1918 pandemic was triggered when an H1N1 bird virus in its entirety, all 8 gene segments, jumped into human beings. We then apparently passed it along to pigs, sickening millions of them as well. Now, after the pandemic, when our immune systems got used to the new virus, it turned into the regular seasonal flu, and in pigs, it turned to what we call classic or classical swine flu. Before 1918, we have no reports ever of any pigs coming down with the flu at all. So, throughout the Roaring '20s, people got the regular flu every year, and pigs got the swine flu. Same thing with the '30s. And the same with the '40s. The important thing to notice, though, is that swine flu remained stable throughout, unchanging throughout the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s in North America, and stable throughout the 1980s. But then by 1999, everything changed. A never-before-described triple-species flu virus arose. The classic swine flu virus, after being stable for 80 years straight, picked up 3 gene segments from the circulating human flu virus and then 2 gene segments from a bird flu virus to create the first triple animal reassortment virus ever described. Our first hybrid, a human-pig viral mutant, was discovered on an industrial pig operation in Newton Grove, North Carolina in August 1998. Owned by a massive pork conglomerate by the name of Hogslat, the virus mutated further and then spread without months throughout the United States. Soon it spread into Canada, and by 2003, the majority of animals tested in industrial pig operations in Mexico also showed evidence of exposure to our triple hybrid strain. We then exported it to Asia, and apparently the favor has been returned. After reshuffling with the classic swine flu, our made-in-the-USA triple reassortment virus picked up 2 gene segments from a Eurasian swine flu lineage to create the flu pandemic of 2009. The primary progenitor, the main ancestor of our current pandemic flu virus, as shown in orange here, is the triple hybrid mutant that emerged and spread throughout factory farms in the United States more than a decade ago. 6 out of the 8 gene segments, 3/4 of our current pandemic virus, straight from our triple hybrid. In this diagram, these data are from the most comprehensive genetic analysis of this virus to date. Now, influenza experts have been warning about this triple hybrid mutant for years, what they call an extremely promiscuous mammalian-adapted virus. Flu scientists used to only worry about Southeast Asia. But given the appearance of that triple hybrid mutant, now we need to look in our own backyard for where the next pandemic may appear, and 6 years later, it indeed did. After 8 decades of stability, what happened in the 1990s that led to these unprecedented changes in swine flu? And the same question with bird flu. No human deaths from avian influenza for 8 decades until 1997, when H5N1 started killing people in Hong Kong. And then H7N7, bird flu, emerged in the Netherlands, which went on to infect 1,000 people and ended up being transmitted efficiently from person to person. Just 2 examples of new bird flu viruses infecting people. Now, in poultry, the number of outbreaks of highly pathogenic, highly disease-causing strains in the first few years of this century has already exceeded the total number of outbreaks recorded for the entire 20th century. As one leading flu scientist told Science, we've gone from a few snowflakes to an avalanche. What has been happening in recent years to trigger these